Naruto vs Ichigo is gonna have to wait because we're going over just as a controversial topic. That being the self-proclaimed messiah of the new world, Madara Uchiha, and the god who tried to stand above the heavens, Sasuke Aizen. Before we start, I just want to say that there are a lot of people within the community that may disagree with my scaling or said outcome of the fight. And that's completely fine, but just so you know, this is my opinion, and of course I back them all up with my interpretation of the scans, and I will defend my claims. Thank you and enjoy the video. Madara Uchiha was someone who was equal to the god of Shinobi, who was able to actually physically subdue the Ten Tails. The Ten Tails is a being with just pure chakra amount as that of a planet. It's also a being that far surpasses the Biju, which includes Kurama or the Nine Tails. Which inside the 4th data book it's been stated that either Kurama can destroy the world or have earth-shattering power. Even in newer media it states that the Biju Damas can blow up the earth. By the way, even if you argue that the world it means interpreted as the earth or the world as the crust or surface of the planet, this would still be in the planetary range, as in the context is saying that he would be vaporizing the world, so he'd be quite literally vaporizing continents, which would be consistent with the on-screen showings that we have seen within the anime or mangaka. And what makes this even more crazy is this is a potential blind Madara scales to this with only a small amount of sage chakra, and not to mention including his Rene amps after this. When talking about Madara, he has feats actually putting him in the large planetary scales. This is due to him getting power considered close to Hagoromo, which in his use was able to create the moon of the Naruto verse. With this, the speed and time it was made in, it's been calculated at large planetary. Even Madara's own feat of spreading the god tree's roots in such a short time frame, and the speed itself was calculated at large planetary as well. But after Madara gets a god tree amp and his second Rinnegan, he becomes an completely different beast. This is Madara at his complete strongest, not just having only both of his Rinnegans, but a god tree amp as well as the Shara Rinnegan. In this state, he's pretty much blatantly above or able to take on all of Team 7 by himself. This includes 6 paths Naruto and Sasuke. While even a base 6 paths Naruto far surpasses KCM2 Sage Mode self. So where does this Naruto scale? As shown, he's able to fight Kaguya to a degree. Something to note is Madara should scale to this version of Naruto, but not scale to Naruto that used boulder release, because at this point he was fighting on par with Kaguya. There's nothing to support that this Madara would be on par with that Kaguya or Naruto. Not to mention, as well as Naruto and Sasuke were both getting stronger throughout their entire fight. So where does this regular 6 paths Naruto scale? Like I said prior, he was able to somewhat combat Kaguya. Kaguya being a being that's stated to create their own dimensions in her 4th data book, more or less it's even stated within Inverse as she can very at least instantly recreate them, with even more of a potential on-screen showing of her doing this with inside the anime, complemented by the fact that even other members of her said race, that being Momoshiki, it's also stated that they actually create their own dimensions as well. For a more in-depth look on this, please watch my multiversal Naruto video, it will be linked right now. So to where these dimensions scale, they're repeatedly stated to be separate space-times. Even the original kanji says the same as there being space-times. Space-time is described as having 3 spatial dimensions and 1 temporal dimension, giving rise to the 4th dimension. What also makes this consistent is that Momoshiki's dimension is directly compared to Kaguya's dimensions, even going to the extent they explain it to us that the Kaguya's dimensions are hyperspaces. A hyperspace is described as being a higher dimension than 3 spatial dimensions, or 4D. If you follow Versus Battle Wiki or Character Profile Stats Wiki, 4D would quantify for Universal Plus. And like I said, Naruto somewhat scales this Kaguya when we're not applying the boil release, and even able to actually literally grab onto one of her space times, making Madara actually Universal Plus. Madara, like we've already covered, scales to 6 path Naruto. As we've established, even the 6 path Naruto without any Kurama Coke far surpasses KCM2 Sage Mode. Firstly, we need to find where base Naruto's speed is. It was stated that base Naruto's even surpassed Kakashi twice. He even did better against Pain in a base-to-base comparison to Kakashi, so it's quite blatant that it's stronger than Kakashi. Now, something we have to get out of the way is that Kakashi is faster than light, due to him being able to conveniently dodge Itachi's Water Fang pistol bullet, which states in the 4th data book that the bullets move at the speed of light. Kakashi dodging him makes him FTL him, but Naruto by proximate. So how much does KCM amp him by? I recommend you watch my Sage Mode video for the scans and explanation for what I'm about to say. In my video we found out a few things, 1 being that Sage Mode's a 5 tails equivalent, 2 the actual amp for Sage Mode's a 10 million times amp, and 3 each tail increases at 10 times the amp off the next. though an actual 5 tails amp would be 25 times less in the Sage Mode due to Naruto getting a passive 25 times amp from Kurama in base. The Sage Mode just completely gives him the extra 25 times, making a 5 tails amp or 5 tails Biju Chakra Cook a 400,000 times amp. Due to KCM being the full 9 tails, it would be followed by 4 extra sets of 10s, hence the 10 times 10. Again, watch the video. If we follow that formula, KCM would be a 4 billion times amp. So if we times the KCM amp by the Sage Mode amp to make KCM Sage Mode, 4 billion times the Sage Mode amp of 10 million, KCM Sage Mode is Naruto is a 14 quintillion times amp, or he is 14 quintillion times the speed of light. And a base 6-path Naruto without the Kurama cloak should at least be equal to this. And if we're just assuming the cloak is the same as the KCM amp, which it should be, it's literally just using the 6-path chakra in tandem with the 9 tails chakra on top of it. So that would make 6-path Naruto 160 octillion times the speed of light, and making Madara massively faster than speed of light plus by proxy. And for Madara's relevant battle pickle abilities, of course he has the many fire-based jutsu and even the wood-style jutsu are good for long range, even short range are just all around better for arsenal wise. Some pretty decently high regeneration as he can just survive and regenerate from hitting his entire torso blown off by Night Guy. As the true second orbs, which in itself can even affect not only just the soul but even have a form of existence erasure due to them being able to affect and destroy both physical and spiritual matter as well. As well as a form of power knowledge that just negs no jutsu, which in a battle equalized standardization like this fight, it would actually come in handy. Of course with the Rinnegan, he also has the Rinnegan abilities, and the all-powerful Susanoo. And of course one of his most underutilized abilities is the Izanagi, which allows him to manipulate Rowdy even to bring him back to life at the cost of one of his eyes, so basically he can manipulate Rowdy at 2 chances. And last but not least, he also, if you want to agree that the Ninja Storm games are canon to a degree, which has been stated by the author that they are the canon foretelling of the story, or at least the cutscenes are, Madara's Mangekyo ability allows him to recreate or retell events he's already seen and then rewind time, so in a sense he can rewind time to a degree. Something we need to go over first is whether Aizen is sent to a higher dimension or not. The main factor of this matter comes to the fact that it was stated that Ichigo was on a higher dimension than him, and while him himself was already on a supposedly a higher dimension compared to everyone else prior. So there's actually a boatload of proof and evidence to say why he is, and I'm going to dissect why. Something to know is that the actual state they acquire is an inverse state dubbed Transcendence. Now this would be literal due to not just Aizen being the one stating this, but even the narrator many times as well. Now the actual state of Transcendence is supposed to be the only reserved for the Soul King candidates or people on that level of power, who the Soul King ironically not only created the verse but also stated to transcend the verse and everything else entirely. And the only time the word Transcendence was ever used in not context of the actual state of Transcendence was during the Soul Society arc, when they described Yama's flames as in a clear sense of being Transcendence and of course a metaphorical sense. It's even stated in verse that he not only transcends both Soul Reaper and Hollow many times, and not only does he compare the actual evolutions and their Bankai or Sanpakutos to different dimensions as well, going back to his statement about him actually being on a higher dimension. It's also stated within the data books that the Hogyoku has the power to transcend everything as well, and even Aizen himself also transcended everything when he acquired this power of the Hogyoku. Even a different data book statement says that he actually acquired the power of a higher existence. And probably for the last piece of evidence is Aizen negging the Cleaner. The Cleaner is stated to be reason, both in verse and in the data books. In fact, it states that Aizen was gaining power that was pushing the limits of reason, and to prove that he even surpassed reason, he mercilessly destroyed the Cleaner that governs over space and time. Now, if this is to be interpreted as the Cleaner being the reason of the actual verse, it would only help or supplement the arguments that Aizen was surpassing or transcending the reason, which would likely make him higher dimensional compared to his verse. With all the evidence I presented, I think it's pretty logical to assume he is being a higher dimension. When falling over the Occam's razor, it's more likely to assume that he is of a higher dimension, as there's nothing really to contradict this point at all, and I do think it'd be illogical and fallacious to claim that this was a metaphorical or not to be the case taken literal. So where does this scale? Aizen drastically scales above the likes of Ishii and Kurosaki, either from just blatantly beating his ass or as we discussed, being dimensionally transcendent of him. Ishii was able to physically hold back the Dangai by pumping his own Ryatsu into it. The Dangai itself is shown in the inverse diagrams that they draw to be significantly bigger than any singular Kogyoku. The Kyogyoku itself is infinite due to being able to hold an infinite amount of souls. Even within the light novels, it says that one can roam infinitely within inside the Dangai. If one could roam infinitely, that would also incline that it would have infinite space, hence to be able to roam infinitely in, which would be consistent from the feat prior. But going back to the light novels, it actually stated that the actual Kyogyoku itself is a space-time. Space-time is defined as 3 spatial dimensions and 1 temporal dimension, giving rise to the 4th dimension, or space-time. Again, what makes this more consistent is the fact that the Dangai was also stated to be a hyperspace not only within inside the light novel, but also within some translations within the manga as well. Hyperspace is defined as a higher dimensional structure, mostly in comparison to 3-dimensional structures. So with this being the case, the Dangai is a 4th dimensional construct, and each being able to affecting this would in turn make him 4th dimensional or universal plus. As we discussed, Aizen dimensionally transcending him or the verse would make Aizen at least 5th dimensional or low complex multiversal. And with Dangai Ichigo transcending him later on, and with inside his monster form was able to actually damage him and somewhat combat him, said Ichigo would make him 6th dimensional, still low complex multiversal. Though there are better feats within inside the 1000-year blood war for Aizen, I see no reason to go any further for his AP. Now, of course, if you watch my Itachi vs Ukiura video, you can just see how ridiculously the mid-tiers can be in terms of speeds in the FTL ranges. But something as we've already established is not only the Kyogyoku infinite size, but the Dangai is also being bigger than it and potentially infinite as well. Aizen or Ichigo were able to cross it within a finite amount of time, which would grant them infinite speed. This can be consistent due to another character, Hinoke, who is also another Soul King candidate, which is also stated just with his casual movement speed is close to instantaneous speed. And he is someone who's on par on the weaker Aizens before he even entered his fully godhood transformations. Even Captain Sunsei was able to dodge the likes of Lelebaro's X-axis ray, which is described as an attack with an instantaneous effect or just sometimes the thing that comes into existence, and even quote-unquote acknowledges the concept of dodging or is irrelevant to this technique, making Aizen pretty consistently infinite speed. And again, there can be potentially higher meta speed for Aizen, but I see no reason to further go into depth within this. Now for Aizen's battle pickable abilities, he as a Soul Reaper can directly bypass your durability and directly attack your soul, as well as a Keto Master as he can use all Ketos like Hado number 90, Kurohitsugi. It can not only seal but can also distort space-time. Or even Hado number 54 that just completely erases one's existence, as well as many other Hados or Ketos. But Aizen's probably most powerful weapon in his disposal is his Zanpakuto Koika Sogetsu. Allows him to manipulate every aspect of one of your senses, not just every 5, but even the 6th sense as well. He's also able to cast illusions over Yuha So Mighty, which he claims can see above all the timelines. He compares the timelines as being as many as there are as grains of sand. Not to mention, it's been stated repeatedly many times that there are actually infinite timelines. So Aizen can cast perfect illusions over a multiversal plus constructs to a person who can see them on a higher point of view, which he claims, all perfectly, and he cannot see above it. And the activation for this illusion is just by looking at him now. Not to mention, even if you know you're been caught with inside the illusion, it doesn't matter, you cannot break out of it. You're still within it. Now to go over his immortality, it's been stated that nothing can kill him within inside the Soul Society as they just have no way of killing him. This would include Hado number 54, which just erases existence, or Hime's causality manipulation, even Ichibe's ability to erase or attack your concepts or even remove you from the cycle of reincarnation. He was even able to survive being erased by the Almighty, which can erase you from all infinite timelines to the point where even not even Hime's causality can bring you back. And for his last thing is due to the Hogyokus, which he even gets his immortality from, is also able to manipulate reality and fate as it manifests the user's wishes and can make fate bend to its will to get those wishes to happen. And of course, Aizen's adaptation that's also in contention with the Hogyoku and his immortality, his adaptation is so high that he can for one take attacks from higher dimensional beings and then regenerate from himself. And within the course of the battles, he can actually grow into a higher dimensional amps if needed, as shown within the battle against Ichigo or even the Gote 13. And of course, he has the power null of every standard Soul Reaper has, as a strong spiritual pressure will not just null their powers, hacks, and abilities, but them as in general. And resulting for Aizen, he can actually erase those who are even lower than him, not just their actual bodies, but even physical matter that has no life as well. When comparing Madara and Aizen stat-wise, Aizen's easily taking the sense not even close. In terms of speed, he's literally infinitely faster than him, and in terms of strength or AP, he's literally over 2 inaccessibly amounts greater than him. He could essentially speed blitz and one-shot him, not even close. Even in hacks, he has just far greater hacks, being Koika Suigetsu. For one, you cannot break out of it even if you know you're in it, and he was able to cast that illusion over an infinite amount of timelines, while Madara, even if you give him the benefit of the doubt, if he could somehow prep the infinite Tsukuyomi, for one, it would even work because Aizen is dead, and infinite Tsukuyomi does not work on dead people or souls. He wasn't even able to put on an infinite amount of people, only a finite amount, maybe millions, but not infinite. As well as Aizen's other hacks that can just completely erase you from existence. Even besides Kido, his existence would just literally just erase him from being too close. Even if we equalize the stats, Aizen would still win, as he literally has no way of dying. Like, there's nothing Madara can do to kill him, while Madara can easily be killed by Aizen. Like, his immortality is just literally just some decently regen. Like, he was almost killed by my guy punching him really hard, while Aizen can survive being erased from every timeline, even just erased from general, or even causality can't even affect him, or even conceptual manipulation. There's nothing in Madara's arsenal, even within equal stats, that even put a dent in Aizen, not to mention all of Aizen's in really high battle IQ. Like, he's been planning stuff for over hundreds of years, and he can easily execute plans way better than Madara. And with that being the case, Aizen casually slams Madara. It's not even close. And thank you guys for watching this video. I put a lot of time and work into this video, and yes, my 1K special of Naruto vs. Ichigo coming soon. I'll put a sneak peek of the thumbnail on again, just in case you forgot what it looks like. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you ever have any donations or want to recommend a video, if you want to donate, here would be my cash app be on screen right now. Remember, you don't have to donate, it just helps the channel. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and join the Discord links in the Discord below. And that'll be all. Mr. Crafty, out.